Hey, this is the Nature Boy Rick Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the king of podcasts radio network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
And this is episode 848 of the Wrestling is Real podcast. Thanks for listening in. King of Podcasts here with you. As always, another great program. We are 10 days away from the King and Queen of the Ring in Saudi Arabia on Saturday, the 25th of May. So Memorial Day weekend, very packed. And then the 26th, AEW's Double or Nothing. That's what we're leading up into. This weekend, the Crockett Cup for the NWA. And I will say, before we get into all the issues here, that I've been really, with the off season of WrestleMania, I've really been enjoying a lot more of the other programming, and I wish I did take more time to talk about more of the content on the other promotions, because, I've been enjoying TNA quite a bit right now, coming out of Under Siege, and they're leading up to Slammiversary coming up in Montreal. Doing some really good stuff over there. I like that. Then we go into NWA EC3. He's going to go over to All Japan Pro Wrestling. He's going to go and defend the 10 pounds of gold. I love that. MLW is doing Battle Riot. I just saw, Azteca Lucha. And I know they have Fury Road coming up this weekend. And MLW's been very good. Of course, when they've had a few stars that they've lost, especially with Jacob Fatu not being there. But again, Alex Kane, Sami Callihan, Matt Riddle, They got some good players over there. Davey Boy Smith Jr. back out there. World Titan Federation. I think all those kind of things that are going on. That's really good. Kojima is champion. I like all that stuff. It's good. Now he's double belts, right? Because he's also, World Tag Team Champions as well. Interesting. So all those shows have been doing really well, and I'm enjoying all those other programs. But tonight, we'll talk about WWE and AEW and what they're doing about it. Now, when I first started thinking about what they're going to talk about this week, I was saying to myself, well, with the Bloodline, that family storyline, they're obviously taking time to go ahead and introduce new players to the mix without much of anything. Like, it's a pretty basic storyline they have for the Bloodline. Solo Sikoa, he says he's under orders. He's now leading the Bloodline in the absence of Roman Reigns. And that was under the order of the Tribal Chief that Solo Sikoa would take over. But Paul Heyman has not spoken with Roman Reigns since after WrestleMania. And so we know all that there, and we don't have a real answer as to if Solo Sikoa is really the head of the Bloodline right now or not. That's just being said. So they're just putting that storyline out there. It's very vague. Let's just say it like that. The introduction to both of the sons of Meng, or Haku, if you want to call them, they brought in here Gates of Agony. Fine, you brought them in here, and what are we doing now? Like, it's just, they're just out there being henchmen for Solo Sikoa, and they're trying to build Solo Sikoa as the leader here. And they're just kind of like doing what they're doing with Randy Orton and Kevin Owens and everything else. I'm like, all right. I'm just looking for more out of that. And I'm just wondering, because of the basic booking, okay, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Look, I understand. Triple H, the creative team, they don't want to get anywhere near what Vince McMahon used to do. They don't want to have gimmicks. They don't want to have, all these wrestlers under different names and, creating some kind of cringy catchphrases and things like that. Like, they're building some stuff organically, right? And I'm sure Paul Heyman probably has some input to that. Think about it. To take what they got from Backlash a couple weeks ago, to go ahead and now give Jey Uso a much more developed entrance, right? Oh, let's put out the cell phones. Let's, darken the audience out there. Let's bring down the lights, and let's get them to do the whole bounce thing, right? They were doing that with Al Snow and Head 25 years ago back in ECW. But hey, it's different. The crowd gets to be involved. It's where Paul Heyman used to say, I want to do that. I want to be out there to see Jey Uso coming out to the ring. I want to be able to say yeet. I want to be able to have my cell phone out there, my light, and start bouncing around and bopping to his entrance song. I want to be out there to Seth Rollins, humming his song, right? I want to be doing that. I get it. You want to again say, whoa, when Cody Rhodes comes out to the ring. All of that. Yeah, it's the audience participation, which is fine for the audience, but what about the audience watching on home? What's the audience at home really enjoying out of all this? Because I look at who they have right now in terms of the stars they decided to put out. Listen, the King and the Queen of the Ring, the tournaments, yeah, it's good filler, right? But the significance of who wins the King or Queen of the Ring doesn't make much of a difference. Does it really? Because I'm wondering about that. And I don't know if there is. And by the way, they had so many matches, they couldn't even put them on TV. They just put them in house shows. But again, audience participation, you get things going on at house shows. So some things are happening out there, right? There's some significant things going on. So for you to go out and watch WWE, yeah, wonderful. But what about if you're watching from home? The at-home audience is kind of missing out, right? And obviously, we're learning that, the ratings for Raw and SmackDown coming off with no Monday Night Football as competition, right? After WrestleMania, sure, you got the NHL Stanley Cup. You got the NBA playoffs going on right now. Hell, you could even consider Caitlin Clark and her WNBA debut with the Indiana Fever, right? You could say all those things are in play right now. And ratings have taken a tumble. That's not good. So let's explain why that is. So from Figure 4 Online, Raw did its lowest total audience number since the end of football season. It did hold in its demographic. 1.59 million viewers total. So their competition was NBA. It was game 4 of the Boston Celtics Cleveland Cavaliers NBA playoffs, Eastern Conference semifinals. And that game did 3 million viewers, or actually 4 million total. And then you also have to deal with a doubleheader because the Thunder and the Mavericks also game 4, 3.6, well actually 4 almost 5 million viewers. Actually 5 million viewers almost. And then you had the NHL playoffs, and that almost had 2 million viewers right there alone. So there's a lot of sports going on. But the thing is that this is where with WWE, yeah, they would have this kind of things happening. But it still comes down to the fact that they are dealing with trying to become more of a sports-related product. Making more of a sports-related content. But it's still, getting more encompassed into being a sport as opposed to being more sports entertainment, I think it doesn't help them. Because, looking at both sides, listen, NHL, NBA, all that right now is affecting everyone right now. Remember, it's not cable shows anymore because everybody's going out and streaming. There's no cable shows that are affecting these right now. It's all sports. And, for the rest of the next month, yeah, it's going to stay like that. But I will say it like this. Because of the effect of what the ratings have been right now with both playoffs going on at the same time, and what those ratings have been for both. Listen, they both have been, AEW and WWE have both not done very well on both ends. They've both been struggling on that. We know that part. But you got to say to yourself, well, what are you going to do now to counteract? It's with Dynamite, they're kind of they're swirling around 700,000 viewers. Collision's around 500,000. SmackDown doesn't get too much of a dent because of being on network, and about how much effort that WWE wants to put into the shows. So there's that too. But looking right now of what we can see, just in the last couple of months, in the last month or so. Remember, so really the start of the playoffs, you see the ratings take a bit of a tumble for Raw and SmackDown. And like I said, and then also NXT's also been a part of that. But they've kind of swayed around. It's different week to week for them. So they were over the 1.6 mark, around 1.6 for Raw last month or so. But now they took another hit this week. As for NXT, it also dropped under 600,000. For Dynamite, they have been hurting on the ratings, and there's been a lot of things going on with that. Where after Dynasty, they have had the issue where it's swirling around sub 700,000 and getting around 700,000. Like, they're around the same spot. But they've had a bit of an erosion of the ratings anyway, which I think that's just kind of what it is, because right now they are building stars. I mean, some of the stars they have up there that are very top. Like, remember, for all that time that they had MJF, as soon as it goes by the wayside, ratings do make a big difference. And then the number of stars do get injured and all. So they did a lot of changes in terms of what they have of their programming, and that's been their focal issue right now. Collision's been okay. I mean, for what they've been doing right now with it, they did pull 600,000 a couple weeks ago, and around the 400,000 or 500,000 mark. And again, they're done with the fact that they've also had changes where Collision and Rampage were on TNT, or no, which weren't on TNT, they were on TBS, and they've been kind of bounced around. Rampages have been on Fridays for a while now. They moved it to Saturdays all throughout, or Fridays, whatever they wanted to do. They've been, or Wednesdays. It gets been switched around all over the place, swapped around. So it's hard to go and keep that audience consistent. And that's going to happen. But for Raw, Monday nights, you wouldn't think it's a very busy night for, I mean, there's sports going on, but like, you know, it's not the night that you would think right off the bat. Like, because we're already used to very much accustomed to like Tuesdays through the middle of the week and the weekends to deal with a lot of issues when it comes to sports programming really being prominent. Everybody's taking a tumble. Like, and not everybody's doing great as a result of that, but we're seeing that it's not been great. With SmackDown, after WrestleMania, they've tumbled down 2.2 to 2.1 million viewers. And sure, that could have already been expected after the fact, but they were pulling good numbers well before. And once a number of those stars are gone, like the thing is, the same issue as always. You know, now you have to go and build new talent, which you were going to kind of do anyway, but you have to do it as no choice because of all the stars you have on the shelf. Drew McIntyre getting hurt, Bobby Lashley, CM Punk, Asuka, Rhea Ripley, you know, Dominic is hurt. I mean, there's a lot of stars on the shelf that don't make their way back. And that sucks because it's like, well, what are we going to be doing until then? So this King of the Queen of the Ring tournament takes some time to go and fill right there and go with it. Giving Cody Rhodes, Logan Paul a title match and giving one good promo segment for them to build off of that. That's all they need to go and do all that. Just a quick run. That's fine. And it's a good way to kind of just fill that spot. Logan's not going to win. But then the rest of the card, okay, we're going to go with, you know, a lot of mainstays in the tournaments for both sides, for the men and women. And, you know, are we going to see the chance where they're going to go ahead and book to have one of the younger stars make their way up the rankings and be the ones that will be winning into this whole setup? Like, that's the other thing you got to think about. I don't know yet. And I'm not sure what to go and think about if they're going to get to that point or not. So currently, Gunther and Jey Uso advanced to the semifinals. SmackDown has Randy Orton going up against Carmelo Hayes, LA Knight against Tama Tonga. We're just waiting to go and see where we are in terms of everything that's coming up for that. And on the Queen's side, Io Sky, Lyra Valkyria advancing to semifinals. And then Nia Jax, Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton, Bianca Belair are set up for semifinal or for quarterfinals now, and then we'll get the winners out of all that and see where it all turns out after it's all said and done. So if we look at the tournament right now for the men and women and see who they have as the potentials that will stand out, and we expect something big to go and come from this. Okay. So the potentials that they have going into the semifinals next week. Gunther obviously winning. I mean, I don't know if it makes much of a difference for him to go and win this here after the IC title run. Ilya Dragunov, they gave him the gimmick right now of being hopefully the czar of the ring. That's interesting. But to no avail. They gave him a good long match with Jey Uso, but that's it. And now, well, Randy Orton, you know, he should probably get over Carmelo Hayes and then LA Knight and Tama Tonga. That should be, you would think LA Knight would go and take that shot. and then he goes on the Randy Orton, and then you set it up, and then, I don't know, the finals? I guess you figure it'll be like Randy Orton and what? Jey Uso, I guess? Or Gunther? I'm thinking, because I don't think LA Knight beats Randy Orton. It doesn't mean anything. Because, I mean, are we going to do the King gimmick after that? Or is it just going to... Because I think what's going to happen, too, Vince McMahon would always have the crowns on these two folks. But I don't think they're going to do that this time. Or if they are, they're not going to make it into a gimmick. We're not going to get a King anything coming out of this. So no King Woods, no King Zelina like we've seen before. Or I don't think we're going to get any of that. I think they're just going to go like, it happened, the distinction's there, but they're not going to do anything more than like wear the crown the night of, and that's it. And on the Queen of the Ring side, so Lyra Valkyria and Io Sky now set up there with some pretty interesting matches where I can see where Jade Cargill wins over Nia Jax. And then, you know, they're not looking to go ahead and build out anything with the women's side where we're going to see anybody younger really come out of that. I don't think Lyra Valkyria is going to get past Io Sky. And I think Bianca Belair will probably take on Io Sky for the Queen of the Ring. Or not, well, or actually, you know what? Maybe they'll have Jade Cargill win it. Something like that. Because what happens if we do get Cargill and Belair against each other in the semifinals? Are we going to set that up now? Because that's already so soon after they won the tag team titles. Like, do you want to set that up already? But I guess they will, because I don't know if they're going to let Tiffany Stratton beat Bianca Belair. They're probably not going to let them do that. So, I mean, to think that anything significant is going to come out of these tournaments, I don't. I think you just wait for Money in the Bank. That's what I think you wait for. Nothing out of this here. And that's okay. I guess, you know, they don't want to do anything else with it. Again, this is for Saudi Arabia. This is just bringing this gimmick back to life just for this, as they've done before. Fine. But, you know, it doesn't really matter in the long run. The younger stars are trying to build up. Yeah, they're not winning in these matches. Okay? They're just not. And as we mentioned before, in the tournament, we've had a lot of stars as well that were not clear to compete. Pulled from the tournament because they're injured. Xavier Woods, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, Zelina Vega, and Asuka. A lot of people on the shelf. And when you don't have that deep a bench, and the bench that you have, right? The secondary talent that you have, that you need to go ahead and have them move up higher in the mid card. To have them go out there and wrestle. And also have to be able to go ahead and contribute on the microphone. How many of these stars do we have right now that really can do that? Do you notice? How many of the stars do we have right now at all that are doing any promos in the ring? Because most of the stars I see right now, especially the younger side, they're all doing backstage. Very few promos in ring. Again, if we do, it's the mainstays. So Drew, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, and others, you know, those are the ones that get it. So we're not, you know, really putting any heat on that. What's the change here? And then a lot of backstage stuff of everything's backstage. Everything's backstage. Unless you can, you know, take a camera and you know, carry somebody coming out and coming into the ring, right? But really, not a lot of angles, not a lot of storylines are being built up in the ring of much of anything. Unless there's something that's already been existing that they have, and they set that up. But that's pretty much all they've been doing right now. And as for the matches, there hasn't been much right now for anything when it comes down to setting up matches for Saudi Arabia. They did have a little bit of the setup for Liv Morgan to go ahead and have her shot against Becky Lynch. So that's set up. And that could be a program they can go into right now. I think it's all transitional because eventually Becky Lynch, I don't know if Rhea Ripley comes back anytime soon to where she'll get to go ahead and get her title back, or they're going to keep the belt on Becky Lynch for the duration. I'm guessing they will. I don't think they'll make a quick switch right now. And then you have Sami Zayn defending the IC title against Bronson Reed and Chad Gable. You're setting off with Chad Gable going back to WrestleMania and the whole setup there. And then Bronson Reed just dropped into the mix because he just brought into the mix. But I just think about, like, the booking is basic. The star power they have right now, they're the company's being carried right now by veterans. Veterans prevents most of them. Because any of the ones that were built up through NXT, I wouldn't say so much are really being built out here. Not necessarily. But that's what they are working with right now. That's what they have. Other than that, the one thing that's being built up on TV and not getting anything involved at all when it comes to the pay-per-views is Bloodline. I mean, look at that. No Usos, right? No Usos. Nothing with Solo Sikoa here. I mean, have we set up a match for him yet? No. Nothing. Because it is tournament. And I don't know what they're going to be doing with them going forward to do anything with them into this match coming up. I don't know. But it's concerning. And they're building by the numbers, right? Bloodline, they're building in new stars. We know that Jacob Fatu's got to come in. We've heard about Zilla Fatu making his way in there. Like, okay, listen, you got Bloodline members you can bring on and bring on board. But, you know, just to build a faction, and at the moment, yeah, for them just to be taking after that, they're not going after titles or anything else. They're not really going full roughshod on a lot of people right now. Like, I guess they are, but it's like, have they really done much significantly so far? Not really. They're just, you know, Paul Heyman looks like the one that's the most, you know, intimidated by all this. But what have they really done so far? They're taking over, but like, again, they don't have any power. They don't have any belts. Nothing. As far as I know, I don't see them going after Cody yet. Like, I don't think there's anything about that being discussed right now. That's the I mean, obviously that's the intent, but there's no Roman right now. And I don't know if they're trying to really do much of anything here about building up right now for them. And we already know, listen, Tama Tonga already lost. So will Tongaloa lose as well his match for the King of the Ring tournament coming up? Again, so the henchmen for Solo Sikoa, they're not going to win matches. They're some of their first matches in the promotion. They're not going to win. So, I mean, you're not keeping this group very strong. And you can feel like it's a bit weakened. I mean, they're part of the bloodline, but they're really not. It's not even, you know, and I don't give me shit about this, but listen, and I was around for NWO, and I remember when the Wolfpack became like the more important, and then we had the black and white. I remember all that. It was a bigger difference, but it's like, you know what? There's a big difference when Bloodline is out there with no Roman Reigns. And if you're not going to do anything right now, if you want to have the Bloodline, they're going to be going up against, then let's get them up with somebody to go ahead and like trios action, something like that. Because you got 3 stars right there. Get 3 other stars to go up against them, to go after them. Like, I already did that, something like that, or they're trying to set things, something like that, right? But, you know, talking about a storyline, the adversaries they should really have. That's the part I'm looking for. But there's a lot missing right there. And all the storylines they have right now, yeah, they're doing the thing where we're going to try to feel sympathy for Otis and Maxine Dupree and all, and the whole Alpha Academy thing. You know, for Chad Gable to go ahead and, you know, turn this route, I would have preferred he kind of go like the Bob Backlund route and just turn like really just go snap. Instead of having like the students supposedly that he's now, you know, bullying. I'm not really much interested in that. Like, I know some people are, I guess, but like, it's such a weak storyline, in my opinion. There's nothing much there at all. And I'm missing out on it. Like, I want something more, but it's weak. To me, it is. And I wish there was something more. And then what about NXT? Hey, I've been watching since after WrestleMania. I must admit, I've been watching. And I watch what they're trying to do right now. You know, they had a struggle because Caitlin Clark had her WNBA regular season debut. They got 2 million viewers on ESPN2 for that game. And then the Pacers Knicks in the NBA playoffs got 4.1 million viewers. So, you know, not much they can do off of that. I mean, NXT didn't lose too much. But I'm trying, man. I'm really trying. Like, I am watching, and I see some of these young stars they're bringing in here, and oh my goodness, it's just not working, man. Heritage Cup. I mean, yeah, Tony D'Angelo winning it. I wasn't much into that main event. When I'm looking at some of those things that they did, okay, Javon Evans beating Oro Mensah and Trick Williams helping out. Now seeing Wes Lee come back, like he's the lost radical here, and I'm like, I never felt like they did anything with Wes Lee to really build him up to much of anything. Like to individualize him, outside of what he did with the Radicals, as a single star, I don't feel it. Good wrestler, yes, but like, where's the storyline? Like, give me like 4 or 5 things you could tell me about any of these stars right now that you say are like, it just stands out. So you got Obafemi, right? Holding the North American title. And he's got Ivar and Josh Briggs to go and deal with. And then the whole Trick Williams Lash Legend thing, they're kind of giving a thing about that. And, I'm not necessarily sure if Lash Legends really, the attachment to Trick Williams is doing much at all. I don't feel anything about that either. I'm trying, man. I really am trying. The OC right now, working at NXT, and, oh, man, I'll tell you, they're missing out. And now they're going to have the thing with they're going to be the UFC's training facility, I guess, coming up. That's going to be for next for them. Okay. I'm just trying to find something more on any of these storylines, on any of the things they're doing right now in WWE when they're like giving us storylines. They don't want to do anything detailed or intricate or anything like that, or anything that gives us any kind of emotional quotient. Nothing. Flat. Basic booking. Basic stars. If I had to go and listen and go across, even just like the pinpoint or nitpick, I mean, I could do some nitpicking right now pretty easily, but I don't want to do that. Because you know what? I'm going to get caught up in the whole thing that my fellow podcast wrestling brethren will probably say, like, oh, it's like, if you criticize at all the NXT Black and White of 2019 or all these other stars after that, if you just do that, everybody's just going to go ahead and shit on you, I understand that part. Everybody wants to go and caught up in that. It's like, well, what are we going to get more to it? And I'm trying, man. I really am. Like, you gave me Lara Valkyria and Zoe Stark. I know the storyline with Lyra Valkyria coming on to NXT. Did they really necessarily tell us the story really well? No, not necessarily. They mention it in commentary, but not really much else. And then Becky Lynch and Dakota Kai, right? And the whole setup with Damage Control. And that's the whole deal with that. And then we had these tournament quarterfinals. I know there's not much they can work off of. I mean, of course, they got a lot of injuries, but I don't think it would make much of a difference either. Like, when you really take a drop off of what they were doing WrestleMania time, yeah, it's all changed different now. What are they going to do? And that's the part I'm trying to wrap my head around. What is everybody else seeing right now on the main roster of the stars that they're seeing? Like, there's not a whole lot of talk about it, but like, think about it. Are we really seeing a whole lot about the excitement of the King and the Queen of the Ring tournament so far, and the stars that are being part of it? Because I really don't even care about who's really in the whole tournament. Except, I mean, there's a couple of stars to go notice, but that's pretty much all, and that's it. But I mean, the NXT stuff that I watch, it's not doing much for me either. Because I mean, a lot of basic stars. And sure, it's developmental like crazy, but like really, there's really no real like change up of what they're trying to do and what they're trying to create. And most of these stars they bring on, some of the names, I don't know if they were just made or manufactured or they're real or not, but some of the storylines they have for them, not great. They're missing on that. I'm trying, man. I really am, but I am struggling right now with all this. And think of this, and think of the stars they had in the first round that they put in here and brought on that we're not going to really care about. Michin, Piper Niven, Naomi brought in here, and, Naomi's an afterthought. I mean, listen, she was champion not too long ago, but again, I mean, she had her chance to go up against, Bayley, and then after that, nothing. Not a word. Naomi's just like brought in the mix, and she's just kind of like left in the background. By the way, when people think about Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks. We'll get in the AEW in a second. But I know people are kind of shitting on her right now because her promos have not been great. And what she's done so far, she hasn't wrestled yet. Right. But you're telling me that the move that Naomi took coming out of TNA as a Knockouts champion for a year, and then she switches over back to WWE. Yeah, she's, with her husband, but like, what else? I mean, she's just brought back I really feel like she just went back to where she was. And it doesn't really matter. We're not using her to further storylines or to build her up into a championship right now. I'm not even thinking about it. It's not the choice. It's not she's not someone who's favored right now. Just thinking about that. Yeah, Ivy Nile, never really got much. I never got much out of her coming out of all this setup right here either. Dakota Kai, I still get nothing from her. And by the way, she lost. And, there's just so many stars they have. Candice LeRae, again, some of the stars they have here that fill up the rosters, I wish it was something more significant. But it's like there's a bit of a drop-off, in terms of the star power they have on the mid-card, of the veterans that they have. And by the way, a lot of these stars we're talking about now as well are veterans as well, but have not been built up well on the NXT side or on the main roster as when called up. Nothing at all. That concerns me right now because I'm thinking, okay, because then at the end of this, you have all these matches that are for tournament matches. Okay, so there's significance for that. But then at the end of this, all right, so let's go through the idea that if we get the Queen of the Ring, Io Sky will probably win over Lyra Valkyria. And then we'll probably get Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair because I don't think they'll let Tiffany Stratton win. I don't think they'll do it. And I don't know if we'll have like just a respect match because I'm guessing that's what it's going to be. I mean, I don't think they're going to have Bianca Belair going, lose in that quarterfinal round to Tiffany because there's a storyline there they can go to down the line. But I don't know. Bianca's not part of that. Again, she's got her storyline with Jade. And that's not even a storyline. They just got their title run. That's it. And on the men's side, sure, we have good matches. Yeah, sure. But there's no real payoff on either tournament in terms of storyline or anything else. Because it's going to be forgotten when this is all done. Like Memorial Day weekend, when we're all done, we'll know probably who won King or Queen of the Ring. But will it matter down the line in a month or two? No, absolutely not. Nothing. Are you fine with that being just filler for a month until we get to something else? Okay, fine. If you feel good about that, that's okay. But at some point, you're going to get tired of the basic booking. You're going to get tired of just, okay, matches just for matches. Well, by the way, AEW does that too. We have matches just for matches over there too. But I will say now, we're going to switch over to AEW. I think they actually have a couple storylines that do make sense and they're kind of intricate. They really do. You have the setup right now for Anarchy in the Arena, coming up with Double or Nothing. The Young Bucks being put in with Jack Perry, right? They're setting that whole deal up and they're all running roughshod right now. Got it. With Kazuchika Okada. FTR's on the other side of it. Now you got Darby Allin. Right, and Bryan Danielson, quite a mix for Team AEW going after the Elite. Great. You put Will Ospreay now against Roderick Strong for the international title. I like that, and there's a background on both of them, which is good. I think they did a really good job on promo tonight to set that up. I like the setup. I think it's been a weak setup to start off with Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Moné because we already know that this match is going to be set up. But some of the setup for it has not been great. We still don't know who attacked Mercedes Moné, right? Have they paid that off yet? I don't know yet. And then the other storyline they're building up really well, Swerve Strickland right now, they're going along with this storyline to build up his face turn. Because, I mean, the one thing they had to go ahead and figure out was, like, how were they going to go and do anything right now with him in terms of the Mogul Embassy? And right now, they basically made it where, well, Swerve Strickland has already kind of taking care of the Mogul Embassy, took him down during Collision, took down Brian Cage on Dynamite tonight, done. And now Swerve Strickland's on his own, and now he deals with Christian Cage one-on-one. Of course, he'll have the interference stuff that he has to deal with, but I like Swerve Strickland right now, and I like the fact of having him with this veteran opponent. Again, Christian Cage, extremely strong heel right now, great character. Finishing off all the stuff he was doing with Adam Copeland and going to that going forward. I like it. We now have a barbed wire match. Barbed wire, what is it, street fight? With Adam Copeland and Malachi Black. That is now set up for Double or Nothing. Some pretty good matches set up. They are missing some star power. No MJF out there. Moxley doesn't have a match yet, but he did have his New Japan, the IWGP title that he defended tonight. Or was it a title or was it a eliminator? I forget. But either which way, you got that set up. You got some decent matches so far, but yeah, they are. The AEW's also got their own issues when it comes to trying to build things up right now because there's been a lot of changes in the storyline for them. Chris Jericho's in another gimmick right now. They're trying to build up Hook. Darby Allin's back in the mix after having the whole deal with Sting. There's a few things that have dropped off that really did make a difference for AEW so far. They have been trying to focus on some of the new free agents they brought on board with Willow Ospreay, with Okada, with Moné. They've been building on those right now. Some of the other stars, they're not being booked right now. And there is a thing where, AEW has a lot of talent on the roster. They are using quite a few of them, but are they being used in the storyline? No. In the same way as well, they're also not doing much with them either. They're kind of missing out on that too. With all the luchadors they have, with the Lucha Brothers, with Roosh, right? Yeah, they're missing out on some of that. Absolutely. And there's some other stars they still kind of have off and on with Miro or Ricky Starks or, and I'm just trying to figure out where they're going to go with all that. It's just they got a lot of stars and, it's not one of those things where Tony Khan's going to go ahead and do something where he's going to constantly talk about, he's going to have certain stars that are going to be thrown down our throats and so oversaturated at a regular point. They're not doing so much of that right now. I think he wants to do it where he does have certain stars that are there and he's kind of rotating out. It doesn't feel like that. But right now, Double or Nothing, setting things up again. TBS title, Willow Nightingale, Mercedes Moné, contract signing was done. Mercedes Moné with a better cut. And the thing is with her, I'm sure the matches are going to be fire. Her wrestling Willow Nightingale, that'll be great. Her promo cutting, has been off. Her look looks great. Looks fabulous. But yeah, she's a little bit off. Swerve Strickland, I think, has been booked very well so far. I like what he's done with him so far. They've really made him real strong. And it'll be good to see Christian Cage here in this spot. I don't think Christian Cage is going to go and take that belt off of Swerve. Keep Swerve with that belt for a while. I think Ospreay, I could see where they'll give him the international title, and I would like to see that. We haven't talked about Toni Storm and Serena Deeb. The whole deal with her and Mariah May and that setup. Toni Storm in general, just keep her on TV as much as possible. I enjoy her very much. Sure, is she taking up a whole lot of time when it comes to Britt Baker or, they've had other stars that were up that spot with Julia Hart. Now she's been taken by the wayside. I don't know. There's obviously more stars they have on the women's side that you can do more with. What others are going to see more of, right? We haven't set up anything for Thunder Rosa and Deonna Purrazzo, but I think that we're going to have that somewhere down the line. We now have that barbed wire steel cage match now set up with Adam Copeland and Malachi Black. And hey, Adam Copeland's getting a lot of time out there. And I'd like to see Malachi Black win here. Let's let him get a belt. They already had the trios titles before, but let's build Malachi Black right now. Let's get him higher up the card. So let's see a TNT title change at Double or Nothing. I'd like to kind of see that happen. So I can see those two title changes. Will Ospreay for the international title, Malachi Black for the TNT title. I can see those two things happening. Very well could see that. So that's coming up. Again, King and Queen of the Ring in 10 days. 11 days from Double or Nothing. Big weekend. Of course, I'll do individual episodes right here. KingofPodcasts.com. We're going to cover all that right here. Take care of that. A few other things they're going to bring up before we wrap up the show tonight. the Vince McMahon stuff. By the way, one quick tidbit. The 40-man Battle Riot match is being set up right now, and what's very interesting is that Paul Walter Hauser is declaring for the match. Quite interesting. A lot of the stars are going to be in this as well. It's good stuff so far. I enjoy it. So far, Matt Riddle, Mystico, Bobby Fish, Sami Callihan, Ernest the Cat Miller coming out of retirement. Oh my goodness. Matthew Justice, former MLW World Tag Team Champion, Timothy Thatcher, Davey Boy Smith Jr., Mads Kruger, Alex Kane, and AJ Francis are all declaring for the Battle Riot coming up. That's going to be good. Center Stage Atlanta, by the way, for that. All right, the Vince McMahon stuff is going on right now. More news on that. First of all, story coming out yesterday from WWE that they are supporting Vince McMahon's notion in the Janelle Grant lawsuit. So we'll get into that real quick. The company filed a memorandum in support of Vince McMahon's motion to compel arbitration, disputing Janelle Grant's allegations of the lawsuit. If the case moves to arbitration, that would mean the case would move to private mediation and out of public court. All three defendants, WWE, Vince McMahon, and John Laurinaitis, support taking the suit in the direction. Yeah. Get it to where Janelle Grant, pay her off. Just get this done. Enough of the court case. Because it's obvious right now there's a lot of other evidence that's going on right now that probably would not do well for Janelle Grant or Ann Callis, her attorney, to be able to dispute back against the powerful WWE, because, they're not going to have the funds to go up against this big behemoth anyway. And if they really had something that was going to be that strong against McMahon, then they would have had it here. But no. So to take it out of the trial, put it to arbitration, get it out of there, privately mediate it, and done. And that would be better for WWE of course, in the long run. Of course, fans would not like to see Vince McMahon get out of all this, but I told you what's going to happen. I told you. And WWE also said that which parts of the dispute should be handled in arbitration should ultimately be decided by an arbitrator. And then we have another thing where Vince McMahon filed a new document presenting a statement of undisputed material facts in the lawsuit. And so the defendant believes the material facts that are stated in this document are undisputed and conclusively resolve the forum dispute before the court, and that the defendant respectfully reserves his right to introduce additional evidence that bears on witness credibility, sophistication, state of mind, and similar issues. And some of the issues they have right now that are in contention of material facts is that Janelle Grant and McMahon had a 3-year relationship which ended in or about January 2022. During the entire relationship, the plaintiff lived in the same luxury apartment building as the defendant. When the plaintiff and the defendant's relationship ended, they entered into a contract entitled Confidential Settlement Agreement, General Release, and Covenant Not to Sue. And before their respective attorneys in negotiation, the plaintiff herself negotiated a monetary compensation the defendant would pay her under the agreement of $1 million to $3 million. And both parties were represented by counsel in connection with the drafting and negotiation agreement. And on or about January 2022, the defendant's attorney sent a draft of the agreement to the plaintiff's attorney. So again, all this was all set up. The agreement was set, everything else is in play, and all the other statements that are being put in here that are being verified. It's all this stuff that's going to go on right now. And then they talk about here the monetary considerations to Grant. Upon the execution of the agreement, McMahon will pay the sum of $1 million to Grant within 10 days of the execution of the agreement, and provided all confidentiality obligations are complied with by Grant in ensuing years, he would also be paying $500,000 every February 1st from 2023 to 2026. And the first $1 million was already paid off. So what's going on here? Why did this all get put into place? Again, the allegations, the Wall Street Journal, the continuation, this beating up and going after Vince McMahon. Listen, if you had some real, bullets to go ahead and take him out, then where are they? Because whatever artillery you have right now to go and take him down, it's not working. Once again, another investigation, more stuff into what it was on his phone, text messages and all this stuff. Well, nothing has happened. Nothing. So I think arbitration will be coming down the line. We'll finally get out of all this and be done with it. Finally, AEW they're working on their next media rights deal. Well, here's the first thing that's got to be considered. The reason why we don't have anything announced yet is because right now, Warner Brothers Discovery, the parent company of TNT and TBS, they're still in with their issue with the NBA. So the NBA contract for them is expiring next year. And right now, Warner Brothers Discovery is trying to go ahead and try to retain their NBA coverage for the next 10 years, I think it is. And the problem right now is that normally they've been paying over $1 billion, I think $1.3 billion right now per year to carry NBA games like they've already been doing, and the playoffs. But right now, the secondary contract for broadcast rights of the NBA, the primary rights for the NBA Finals, playoffs, and for various games are with ESPN, ABC, and Disney. So that's already been set up. That deal's already in place. I think they pay, $1.5 billion or whatever it is right now. But then, and then Amazon has also put in a deal where they want to have additional games themselves. They want to be able to stream national broadcast games for themselves. But then the part is that where TNT comes in, they normally have their deal, which has been around for a long time. You know, again, they've been doing their stuff for years. 28 years right now, the Inside the NBA program has right now been in existence. But now what happens is this. NBC Universal, Comcast, they decided to go ahead and put in a bid to carry games themselves, outbidding Warner Brothers Discovery to $2.5 million. Basically almost doubling the amount that Warner Brothers Discovery normally pays. Now, if Warner Brothers Discovery, because of their deal with the NBA, if they can even come to a deal that comes remotely close, so over $2 billion, if they're willing to go and bid $2 billion right now a year to carry the NBA, then they'll be able to go ahead and do that and say, okay, we'll keep them on board. And, that will be the determining factor for how much AEW gets in the next broadcast rights deal. But it honestly believes that we're going to see Warner Bros. Discovery hold on to AEW as a product. But the NBA deal must happen first. So the upfronts right now for Warner Bros. Discovery are coming up as we record this tomorrow. And AEW will be mentioned, but no new deal has been made imminent. So I think they haven't locked in a deal because right now, it's a matter of how much money is going to be available after the NBA deal comes and goes. Now, the issue is, if TNT and TBS do not get the NBA deal, then I think AEW will probably do a little bit better on broadcast rights as a result. That's what I think will actually happen. And that's what they have to do. They have no choice. All right, that's the show for the night. We'll keep it short. And, of course, we'll come back next week. We'll talk more about what's going on when it comes to everything that's going on with the lead up to King and Queen of the Ring and Double or Nothing right here on the program. We'll go and go through all that, see what else they go and go along with it. And also, quick reminder, if you haven't done so, I've been putting up some additional episodes, and I'll be trying to do some over the weekend as well. Talking about more of other wrestling stuff that might not be something I'll put on this program. You're always going to get the weekly program here of the Wrestling Is Real podcast. You're always going to get the pre-shows, the post-shows. I'm going to give you those recaps still for WWE and AEW and TNA. I will continue to do that. But for other shows that are out there and other content, I'm going to be doing some other content. And if you know, I've already been doing some premium content so far on some breaking news and things like that. And you will be able to go ahead and access that content. If you go to kingofpodcasts.com, you will see the Supporters Club. And for $2 a month, you can see additional you can actually hear additional content from yours truly regarding what's going on with other wrestling stuff that I want to go and talk about under a premium service. $2 a month, you can, listen to the content if you want, or if you just want to, you can actually support me off the bat. You can actually support the program. You can do that too if you want to. Again, $2 a month. I'm not asking for much, but I'm going to offer you additional content for that $2 a month. That'll be something a little bit extra. So hopefully you'll go and consider that. Kingofpodcasts.com is where you'll find it. And you'll see some of the premium episodes already there. And when you click through those, you'll see where you can go and listen to it. You'll see the link to the Supporters Club. Click through, put in your donation, and check it out every month. And once I see those extra donations come in, that means I've just got to be motivated to go and do more content, because I want to make good for you folks that decide to go and pluck down $2 a month to go and help out yours truly. So I will hope you'll consider that. Again, kingofpodcasts.com. You'll go and find all that right there. All right. So again, we'll do post shows for both Double or Nothing and King of Queen of the Ring next week. And of course, we'll come back and see what they're going to be doing to build up on the go-home shows for both next week here on the Wrestling Gets Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.